Joe! Joe on Joe is the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and we are back this week with another exciting episode of Draw with Joe. That's right, we are on YouTube this week, so if you're hearing this in your audio, I'm doing my best to make it a fabulous audio experience for you, but it can fully be experienced on our YouTube page. So go to the Joe on Joe YouTube page. Links will be in the store notes, or you can go to YouTube, search for Joe on Joe, and you'll find the full graphic episode. We've been doing these for about four weeks now. 4 weeks, yeah. We did some Sky Striker action, some Hawk action. Last week we did a head-on face shot of Major Bludd. And this week we're doing a profile one. So I'm trying every week to try and refine this to get it a little more... just to refine it as a show, as a program, as an entertainment vehicle. So we've got a couple new things this week that are fun that we're going to get into in a second. Before we do that, I want to thank you, new listeners, for coming on board. If you're new to the show, this is the long-running podcast where I've talked about every episode of the G.I. Joe cartoon, going back all the way back. We've talked about DIC, we've talked about Extreme, Sunbow. I've covered every single issue of the Marvel Real American Hero comic book. That's been a lot of fun. Some news on that today as we record this. And now I'm just kind of working my way through some fun old school G.I. Joe ephemera. And this time it's the How to Draw G.I. Joe book. So I figured, why not? Let's throw this up on video and put it up on our YouTube page. So hope everyone's enjoying that very much. While you're online enjoying it, please give me a like and a hello on whatever, I guess on YouTube, or whatever you're listening to this on. If it's your podcatcher, if you're a member of our Patreon, you can see this video as well. Patrons get this a day early, or really as soon as I do it. I try to do it much earlier, but life is busy. Patreon.com/JoeandJoePod. Say hello at JoeandJoePod. That is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com and say hello. That music you hear lightly in the background, hopefully it's light enough, not too drowning out, is Cold Slither by Hot as Hell, the awesome band that put together our music for the Cold Slither episode, like 5 years ago. But I figured I wanted a bed of music behind this to kind of eat up some of the more quiet spots for the audio listeners. So hopefully this isn't too distracting. If it is, maybe we'll change course next week. And I'm recording it like live as we go, so I'm not laying it in as a bed, so it's kind of hard for me to separate it out. Maybe we'll play with that next week. I don't know. Anyway, if you enjoy that music, of course, just search on our pod for Cold Slither. I believe I've hosted all the versions of this at various moments, so you guys can download them and turn them into MP3s and stuff. So no need to... bother me. Sure, you can always bug me. You can always pop in and say hello, send me the link. But yeah, they're on our feed. So if you just give a search on our feed, you should see it. Just search for Cold Slither. You'll not only see the behind the music, but also all the singular tracks for this. But I figured that'd be fun, non-copyrightable music to have playing in the background. So that's great. I also want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, the Movies in a Meal podcast. They are fabulous. Let's see, this week, the Mrs. Toiletile and I, we saw Furiosa, which is freaking awesome. I loved it. Absolutely amazing. I want more of those. George Miller, I need you to take some kind of infinity formula longevity serum. They're fantastic. So I really, really, really dug Furiosa. And I also saw the Strangers, Chapter 1, which... I'll say this, it's good. It was scary in all the right moments and all that stuff. Like, that was well done. I appreciated it. But I didn't notice any prequel part to it. And I thought that's how they were building that movie, as some kind of prequel-y thing. We don't even anyway, spoiler alert. I was confounded. I thought we were there for a prequel and there was no prequel involved. So that was weird. And maybe that was just my expectation. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. But if you guys saw those movies too, if you want to hear someone talk about it in a real way, you need to go to our sponsors, the Movies in the Middle podcast. They are going to dissect those movies. I'm sure they've done Furiosa, and I'm sure that they're going to do Strangers Chapter 1 or It Follows or whatever it is. So this week we are doing another Major Bludd. We're going to do a profile this week, but a couple fun additions. One, I found this 31-year-old eraser, an old school Jim Lee Wolverine eraser. You're going to be our eraser today. I also found some kneaded erasers. Kneaded erasers. If you're not familiar with what a kneaded eraser is, kneaded as in K and kneaded. They're great. They're malleable. They last forever. I'm not kidding. This is literally probably 20 years old, if not older. This I haven't even opened because what do I need it for when I have this? He exists. And then here's a little stub of another eraser. I'll just try to use that up. So I get rid of it. But I'm also drawing with a technical pencil today. It's a Stadler Mars Tech pencil. Apparently made in Germany. I don't know what the lead weight is in it though, to be honest. I have 3 widths here. You look on your lead replacements. I've got a 2H. I've got a 3H, and I believe this is an HB. Yeah, it is an HB. I don't know what's loaded up in here, but they are different hardness, like firm, thick, different. They erase better, is what I'm saying. Regular number 2 pencils, pretty soft hard lead. That's what I'm trying to think of. Regular number 2 pencils, as we've seen in the last few weeks, it smudges quickly. It's much easier for things like math than doing homework and stuff. But when you get into the drawing world stuff, you tend to use something like this, like a 2 or a 3 or an HB, which are harder, and so they don't smudge as quicker. So I don't know what's in this, but if you've never used a technical pencil, here's a little thing. Got a little button on the end. Pop it out. It's got a little clasp, and then it grabs the lead and in there, and then that's it. And it's kind of self-sharpening. If you use it, if you rotate it, it should keep its edge. If not, you just throw it in a little sharpener. Whatever. Anyway, you're good. The other thing I found is this old ass Spider-Man. Look out. So we're using a Spider-Man ruler. And actually, this came in real handy because last week we were using this big old Joe Kubert, right? T-square. That's just too big for my needs here. It's a lot. That is just a lot of ruler for what we're doing on this page. So I found this, which is funny because it's sponsored by Movie, which I believe they do those movies in front of the films at AMC now. But yeah, so this is from the original Spider-Man. I don't know where this came from, but it was in my box of goods. And I used it. I jumped the gun too a little quickly. I laid down our tracks. I think I realized that was something that was at least in my head that was slowing me up. And so I was able to take a little time before the show and lay the track work so we can get into the meat and potatoes of this. But this is great because I can now show you what the final move was. So from the how-to, you see this on this side. Profile, I'll read what they wrote here. Very much the same as drawing the front of the face. Start with an oval shape, divide it with the center line and eye line as you did the front view, but this time tilt the center line forward. Once again, shoulder falls about 1/4 of the head height below the chin. Now, what was great is once I kind of figured out the dimensions of what I wanted the image to be, I was able to just literally use the ruler and go, oh, that's about 1.5 inches. Okay, great. So then I was able to go, well, here's 1.5 inches down this way. And there's roughly the bottom that was, pretty much right in the middle. That's where that's where his chin rested, right? And then I was able to say, well, that's 1.5 inches. So let's see if that's 1.5 inches, and then make that 1.5 inches, right? So it kind of like completely bisects this, not circle, but this oval thing. So then it made the measurements and the proportions a lot easier to find. I left this in there. Do you see this? This is where my eye was first saying the top of his head should be, the top of the this oval, right? That's where my eye was telling me. But once I got the ruler out, I realized I was missing a whole half inch up here. And then when I did that, I was able to kind of, this first line was where I thought the back of his head should be. And once that goes there, it made a little more sense to bring it back a little further. So I'm going to use this, since I know I'm not using that guideline at all. I'm going to erase that little one. But same thing when we got down here. I was able to kind of eyeball it, and it says quarter of the head height below the chin. You can use, it's okay to use rulers to figure out your dimensions when you're roughing something out. You don't have to go like line of sight, which is a huge lesson that I never learned. But I mean it. Like, it's okay. There's no cheating in this. Cheating is AI. All right. This is not cheating. This is using tools tools that people have used forever. It gives you straight lines, but it also gives you dimensions where your eyes may fail you. We also there's a little bit of a curve here, because that's going to be what that ends up being, actually, is the top of his, or close to the top of his eye patch. And then the eye line came in here, which actually I think it's a little, as I'm looking at it, it's a little low. So that's going to be like the top of his eye patch. It's going to be the bottom of his eye patch. And then the eye line is just is this line here, the bottom of his eyelid there, his nose there. I think that nose is going to end up being a little too small, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so this is the rough. That's it. Yeah, we roughed it out with that. So pretty good. I feel much more comfortable with this circular thing. So now, again, following the the how-to books, here's the dimensions, and now draw it. Like, there's no, like, there's they don't really help you anyway. Yeah. So earlier we talked about exciting news today, and today was the day that dropped the Skybound G.I. Joe Omnibus Kickstarter. That was pretty awesome. I'm very happy with their selections. I personally wanted the Snake Eyes. I was in there pretty early. I was up early. I really technically was up early enough to get anything I wanted, but let's be fair, I forgot in my stupor and fell back asleep. But I woke up a few minutes later and realized it was 6:15 in the morning, and that it was live. So I jumped on. When I logged in, there were 25 Snake Eyes left. And by the time I kind of got my wits about me, added it to the cart, things like that, it gave me you cannot get the Snake Eyes reward. There's too many people in the process of checking out. So you people jumped on, you got your Snake Eyes. However, I did notice that that the Cobra was still available. So I jumped in, and I was able to snag the Cobra. And I'm talking about the early bird one with the Larry Hama sign plate. So I should be getting that, and that makes me very happy. I think this product they're putting together is great. Not only, and I love that the Kickstarter, here's what I love about the Kickstarter. It's for everything. Like, you're getting everything. They're not screwing around. That's what I love. I think it's good for, it's good. It's recognizing, let's say that. It's recognizing that, now this is interesting. So he's got a bit of a bump nose, because he's got it broken a few times. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna curve that out a little bit. It's recognizing that, yeah, you people, you people, you Joe fans, you guys already got this. Like, why wait? Why make? That was the top of his lips. So that's the bottom of his lip. Why make Joe fans wait, 2 years, right? Until they'd be able to put out the entire omnibus. right? It's really the entire set of omnibuses, right? The like all four volumes, rather. It doesn't make any sense. It's been tried before. Look what I did when IDW was trying to put together the big ones, and what did they do? They never finished it. So what Skybound seems to be approaching it with is, so that is supposed to be okay. So that's actually his teeth. So I'm a little off here. You guys got me excited talking about these omnibi. So these two lines, those were his teeth lines. Like his lower lip starts there. So if those are his teeth lines, and that means his upper lip curves down to there, and you don't get that lip. I don't know what the corner of your lip is called, but you don't get that until the bottom of that line. So it seems a little big. I might have misjudged that. But that makes total sense to me as far as how you're putting this together. You are absolutely, you don't make us wait. I hope they eventually, and what you could do is, see, I'm a little off here. Yeah, I'm a little off here. That's a little too big. It's because I'm talking to you, dear listener. Now, what you could easily do, and I hope they do this, is over the next couple of years, because you talk about longevity and they need to make money ongoing. They're not just in this for the instant loot. Although as we speak, that thing funded quick. And they made a ton of money today. And don't get it twisted. There is clearly in the notes that says if you don't fill out your survey, Skybound will consider that a donation. So, listeners, if you don't fill out your survey, you ain't getting a refund. I think that was, I actually think that's fair. We gotta pay attention, but also pretty funny. I've never seen that. I mean, you know what? Maybe that's standard. That might be standard on these. I don't know. Let's see here. But I noticed it for the first time on this. If you don't fill out your survey, Skybound will consider that a donation. So I think my proportions are a little off here. I feel like his chin should be jutting out a little more. We should get it. There should be a little more length there. But also, I'm going to do this a little bit. Give him a pronounced Adam's apple. Yeah, there we go. And I'm excited. And I threw in an extra set of cards. Although here's what I didn't do. And this is 100% on me. 100% on me, guys. I didn't really plan ahead that well. I knew kind of what I wanted, but I didn't really I didn't really do the 100%ing of what I was going to get. So I ended up ordering an extra thing of cards, not realizing I was getting a thing of cards with the original order, but that's okay. They're great. Maybe we'll do a giveaway. Maybe we'll just make, you know what? Actually, I think a friend of the show needs one. So we'll figure it out. You know what else I did do recently, which, let's see if it's in hand. I bought this guy off of the eBays, How to Draw number 3, because in my database, electronic, like the literal database, it said I didn't have this. And I was like, what? I know I have it, but why do I say, no, I totally have it. And after I ordered it and paid for it on eBay, I immediately found it sitting right over there where I put everything else. So it wasn't a matter of loss. It was a matter of me 100% trusting the database, which I've said on many occasions, I trust the database. And I always err on trusting the database. And it burned me this time. I could have canceled the eBay order, but you know what? I thought about it and I said, what do I hate more than anything else when I'm selling on eBay? I hate people who cancel, because you know what? It ain't my fault that you can't keep track of whatever it is you're buying. You agreed to buy it, So buy it. That's my theory on the eBay end of the front. So this actually his head. So that's the top of his head. So this has to go kind of go there. So it's kind of a hard cut. So I bought it. It wasn't a ton of money, but I did buy it. So I have an extra copy. I will probably be giving it to one of you loyal listeners at some point. I don't know when. Certainly after we get past that one, probably during it, because that'll be the last of these series that we end up doing. So if you look, the bottom of his hairline matches the top of his mouth. So we're a little off, but we're close. So I'll probably do a giveaway on that towards the end of this little mini arc that we're doing. So look out for that. If you need a copy of How to Draw G.I. Joe number 3, please don't, we'll figure, whatever. There's no contest yet, but, if you need it, ask for it. When we get there, don't ask for it now, because we're not there yet. As a couple, we're not there yet. So what I like about that they do with blood here, and this is what I've always labored in my drawing to do, and I think that kind of what the 90s overdid, is they have a nice balance of finding places to... You see this little curve they put on his jaw? That's muscle. That's great. That means that gives him a more muscular jaw. They find places to give hatching and definition. That, oh my God, look at that! It's a needed eraser. Get more precise with this thing, but it's not super precise right now. What am I talking about? Places for definition, like this, his cheekbone, because right now he's got a real plump, fat face. Right? They really didn't put any definition there. So now you add a little bit of this. Where's that? You have a little bit of this right here on the cheekbone. Cut down. That is, yeah, this whole thing is a little. So what we're doing is we're drawing he's got a bit of a smile on him, right? So what we're doing is the skin, but this is all skin. So we're showing that the skin has bunched up on his face, which bunches up on all of our faces when you smile. I made his jaw a little too deep. This is where erasers come in handy. Yeah, because his jaw was too deep for the dimensions here. Yep, that's better. We also need to give him a mustache. Mustache helps. One thing I find myself when I draw with mustaches, and I think that's something that probably a lot of people run into, is let me rephrase that. I know a lot of artists run into is we'll call it the Justice League problem, is that the mustache tends to take over the face. And if you were to erase that mustache, his face would look really, really wrongly proportioned, right? I'm not saying this is the greatest example of it, but you look at that, and sometimes some drawings, is the mustache the face, or is the face the mustache? You see when someone's got a real good grasp of it, is that the mustache looks like it's been applied to human flesh instead of replacing a mouth. Does that make sense? Although, I love a good bushy mustache, don't get me wrong. So we're doing this. So we're... Hear that sweet, sweet cold slither in the background? So this is that's his cheek. That's the actual cheekbone. And then this is the indentation underneath the cheekbone that's that the shadow that's getting caused by that. And then the light is reflecting off that right there. So that's why, and there's also the way they do it is they're doing some cross hatching. Cross hatching is good, which literally is what it sounds like. It's, it's cross hatching is like that's hatching. And then cross hatching would be doing this. And what does it do? It looks darker than just this. Like that's a little bit of shadow. And then we're like, oh, it's a lot more shadow versus, like just straight up in the dark. Very simple techniques that are used by every comic book artist you've ever seen and enjoyed. Like that's pretty basic, but that's what it's called. That's hatching, in case some of you don't know that. And for those of you who do, back off. I'm trying to entertain the masses. So now that we've got his hairline in, I'm going to erase this. I want to try to do a little more detail on the hair this time, because it's easy to kind of just go black hair. I'm going to try not to do that this time. And again, I can tell right now, just from the angle I'm looking at this, that the angle is throwing me off a little bit, but that was making excuses. So instead of just saying burr, 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 black hair, let's erase some of the guidelines. We know we don't need these anymore. Well, look, I pulled off a little bit of the needed eraser. That's the whole point of it. In fact, this one was 2 pieces, completely different pieces that I merged together before we recorded. Get them heated up. Boom. It's cool here in the cold slither. Some of this is going to end up being... So I think next week I have an idea for how we're going to do it. And I think we're going to do a blue line next week, which will be neat. I haven't done blue line in a while. So we're going to delve into that, kind of see how that looks. Let me get this guy. Sometimes you do need to get in there with a nice edge. And these erasers, and I'm blanking on what they're called. There's a technical term for it. These literally are meant to crumble away. They grab it and they roll off, so you get a lot of crumbs. But they are designed to do that. Whereas the kneaded eraser just kind of lifts and separates, lifts off the page. So sometimes different strokes for different parts of the job. Erased a little bit. That's all right. Yeah, so it's looking all right. Yeah, see, this is where like you would come in with an inker. So what we're saying, we're working on the hair. So yeah, so you see here, like they have a roughed out. Oh, hatching. That's what we're talking about. They have a roughed out with hatching, right? Then you look at the final inked piece. It's pretty black. But the hatching can guide your form and helps you find your line, right? Which leads you to the ear. The nub of an eraser. There we go. Yes, So this ear should be back here a little bit, because then we come back here and we go boom, 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 boom. There we go. Hair. That's the hair that always grows back after you get your haircut. Your haircut. So now, I mean, there's just so much that they've inked in, that gets inked in because he has black hair, that could cut to the chase and save us some time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try to emulate exactly what they did on there, but we're close to it. But like find these moments of highlight. All right. So by putting the highlight, this distance between the hatching that we first did, right? So I'm doing it reverse. But the distance between there, that distance in there in the middle, that's height, that's depth. That's saying that part is reflecting differently in the light from this part. And then this, what you're seeing with when you look at comics and drawings, when you see the highlights, what it is, unless you're talking about someone like Rogue, who literally has highlights, what you're seeing is the shape of the head and the shape of the hair that is forming the head and is bouncing off the light. And I know that may sound basic and be like, yes, no shit, sorry, like no duh, Joe. But it's important to say that, because that bounce of the light is what's defining the three-dimensionality of the character you're drawing. And when you do it, uniformly, which we're going to see in a second how uniformly we did it. If you do it uniformly, then you define a shape more than just drawing a black head of hair, right? Because you can do all this work and you do all this heavy lifting, right? We got to do his eye squint. So you do all this heavy lifting, right? Of being like, I'm going to define what his eye looks like, and I'm going to define his cheekbone, and I'm going to give him, like round that cheekbone a little bit, and we're defining body, literally like hair body. Think about that. We're defining, like giving the shape of his face, and yet you throw it all away with just a black head of hair. I probably did that on last week's episode, so we're going to try to avoid that this week with. How can we do this? Well, I'll use a real soft. What is this? 3-inch? That's pretty hard, I think. Well, you know what we'll do? We'll use a number 2. We'll dip back into the bears. And this actually, maybe you'll see a difference in the general color and softness of the lead. So now the eye patch, the way they're treating it, doesn't really have any highlights to it, because it's black cloth, so it's absorbing everything. So that gets a complete black treatment. Ideally, I would actually just bust out the inks, but I think we're going to save that for a later show. It's too much to do right now. Too much to do. All right, we're back, and I forgot one thing I wanted to add to this. Oh no, wait, I'll save it for the end. Yeah. So, sorry, take a quick pause to reset the camera. Yeah, so we'll use the bears to do the black and see where we're at. Bears. I'm excited for those. The G.I. Joe omnibus, though. I think those are going to be really cool. They're going to look great on the shelf, And again, I just want a complete set. Like that's, like, is that, apparently that's been too much to ask for all these years. Like it's too much to get one complete omnibus collection of G.I. Joe. IDW tried and kept failing, kept stopping. And I get it. Sales are sales, you got to make money on it. But, the method they went by seemed to doom them a little bit, I mean, it's a little bit of that could have been writing on the wall. We could have seen that just a little bit already. Like you do the math on that. It's like, how many volumes is it going to take to get us through the entire thing? What would have been like 15 or something? That's a lot. An omnibus, I'm pretty sure omnibuses existed before they started those. 15 volumes of those $50, know the one I'm talking about, the $50 hardcover ones. That's a lot. I know there's all you hardcores, you diehards, you're going to get it. I got them. But they should have, when they, remember the first round of it, there was those deluxe editions. I have the first two. They came in like the hardcover slipcase. Like you think you were going to do 15 volumes of that? Like what were the, like were there no price estimates or projections rather? Seems crazy to me. The Skybound process, and I'm not saying this to lick any boots or to whatever, but the Skybound one just seems so much more manageable. Like, for example, they finally let's use another 80s property, ROM. They finally put that ROM omnibus out there, right? You're not gonna do a series of ROM trade paperbacks. You do the omnibus. You get everyone to buy the omnibus. If that sells crazy well, which probably didn't, but if that sells crazy well, then and if there's a reason to, then you put out like epic collections or smaller versions. But like, let everybody get the giant version they want. You're going to get your diehards first. I don't know. That's my theory, but I am not a publisher. I am just a dude drawing a Major Bludd mustache. Let's see here. So now what I'm I don't know if you could tell, but I'm pressing much harder on this pencil. Than I was before when I was roughing everything in. Yeah, I'm still never happy with. I wasn't happy with Bludd's eye patch last week. I don't think I'm happy with it this week. But it is what it is. Oh, so yeah, here we go. Hold on. There's this whole line of definition that I missed. There we go. Now, next week, we're not going to do that. Because really, it's the same face. You just, you draw less of it. You know what I mean? You just cut over there and throw a helmet on him. We're not going to do that. I have a couple ideas. I think, and I want to do one of these body ones. So maybe I'll take a little bit of the lesson from this week and doing the skeleton early, and maybe we'll do an early pre-pro skeleton on it for next week, so we have a little bit on the page, and then we kind of fill in the blanks there. Because I do want to start drawing bodies. Bodies are fun to draw. But this culminates in, and maybe we'll do it next week. Maybe we'll warm up with a body and then do this combo cool body, but check this out. This is what's coming up. Some action poses. Those are fun. I think, you know what? I think that's a dope. So maybe we'll get one of these action poses in next week. But this guy. Can you see it? Hold on. Sorry for being out of the camera a little bit. That guy's fun. Like, I think that's we're eventually going to try to do that. So that'll take a little bit of work. But here it is. Here's Major Bludd, everybody. So I think Major Bludd, does he get a Dylan or a Brandon? We're going to give him a Dylan. Major Bludd gets a Dylan seal of approval. Wait, I teased this Wolverine eraser, then I forgot to use them. We'll erase some more of these lines. Some of the neck pattern lines, get a little cleaner there. So yeah. Now his neck looks really weird, actually. Oh, it's funny. What ended up being the opposite line ended up being a better neckline for him. Hold on. Where's Wolverine? Any hoots. Man, do I appreciate you all listening and watching and subscribing. I saw some of you guys subscribing to the YouTube channel. Please, please, please do. Not for any, honestly, not for any real reason. Just lets me know that you're watching. It's more really that. We're not lighting the world on fire, but we are having fun. And we're drawing Major Bludd. So I think that's pretty good. Oh, we don't even mess with his teeth at all. What do they got his teeth looking like in this? Yeah, they don't really give him teeth. Also, I'd be more precise with some of this if we were like inking it, or if I, to be honest, literally did this with my head, really dug down. You can see it. I mean, I am sitting at it from a distance, so some of the precision is lost just because eyes are terrible. But yeah, there's Major Bludd. There's the profile Major Bludd. So, all right. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will literally see you next week because we're going to be more video next week. So, as Dylan says, and I don't remember Dylan's last name because I never watched that show, but 90210 stickers are in the house, so let's use them. Dylan says, now you Joe. And Joeing is half the battle.